I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of the Commissioners for the Town of Mint Hill for the July 11th, 2024 meeting. We do have a quorum present. I'd ask that Mayor Pro Tem Dalton deliver the invocation at this time.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, to be with us as we go to our meeting tonight, dear Lord. Give us the wisdom as we make the decisions, dear Lord, that affect our town. We ask you also be with the people outside, dear Lord, within the heat, our officers and fire departments who have to work in this, and our public works. Again, just be with us as we go through this meeting. First in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, sir. Item number 3, additions, deletions, or arrangement of agenda items. Do we have any changes?
No, sir.
Item number 4 is the approve the minutes of the June 13th, 2024 regular meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 5 is the consent agenda. Accept May and June tax collectors report and accept the budget amendments.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 6, I will now open the public hearing on ZC 24-3, filed by Capital Land Partners LLC to conditionally rezone 25.19 acres of property located at 10524, 10600, 10616, and 10608 Lawyers Road to allow a residential development consisting of 50 lots.
You gotta see,
Oh, you got to,
yeah, financials, May and June financial statements.
okay. I'll do that after the closed session. How's that?
We good?
Sir,
All right,
you will
I'm on.
give your name and address, and then you have the floor, sir.
All right, thank you. Good evening to you all, Mayor Simmons, Board of Commissioners, all of you here tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight about our rezoning. My name is Chris Boone. I live on 2828 Rothwood Drive in Charlotte, North Carolina. The name of our company is Capital Land Partners, and we are a company that's been around. We started in 2003, been around 21 years. It's a family business. I have my 2 sons here that work with me, John and Wood. And we are a residential land development company. We've developed roughly 2,000 home sites in the greater Charlotte area. In fact, I'll just show you, and I should have had this slide up already, but as I said, we are a residential land development company headquartered here in Charlotte. And we actually developed the site that's just behind the town center with Meritage Homes about 3 years ago, Mint Hill Village. So we have some experience here working with Mint Hill and working with the community, and that's been a great experience for us. As far as the site, its location is right on Lawyers Road near the intersection of True Light Church Road and Lawyers Road. It's 29.19 acres. It's, our proposal is to rezone the property for 50 lots, which is a little less than 2 lots per acre. And these will be single-family detached home sites with single-family homes. This is an aerial of the site plan that we have proposed for the development. Again, it's 50 lots. And I'd like to just walk you through briefly the design that we have come up with for this development, because we've put a lot of time and effort into making sure this would be a community that residents would flourish in and that it would create a lot of community among the residents living here. As you go into the neighborhood, we have a cul-de-sac with roughly five or so lots around that cul-de-sac. And then coming down around the curve, we are going to have a circular drive with a pocket park. And there'll be roughly 6 lots that will surround the Pocket Park, and we'll talk a little more about that, and I will later. And then as you come down the neighborhood, you can see the lots that are further down are going to all front common open space. And that's going to be primarily undisturbed common open space. So all of those lots will have frontage with no lots across the street that will front and look into that common open space. And then it will terminate in a cul-de-sac, so that would create an opportunity for community events and different activities in the neighborhood. So we feel like we've got a really good design for this site. It's a little unusual configuration, but we spent a lot of time trying to make it as attractive as possible. As far as our site amenities, probably the biggest amenity that we will offer is that as part of this rezoning, we're going to be constructing or expanding the existing greenway, and that will be at our cost, adding at roughly 2,000 linear feet of greenway to the existing greenway. In addition to that, we have the Pocket Park that I mentioned, and we've got some renderings of that I'll show you in a minute. And then finally, the design of this site is that we are preserving close to 40%. It's actually 38.5% of the site is being preserved as common open space. And so we have designed this with roughly 38.5% that would be available to all the residents in the neighborhood. So not just a small, or each lot will have access to all of that common open space. So we feel like that's a great amenity for this neighborhood. As far as the greenway, hopefully you can see that, but the town currently has a lot that fronts on Apple Creek Drive, and so we will extend the greenway from Apple Creek all the way down Irvins Creek and then tie in through a pedestrian crossing to the existing greenway that is behind Brighton Park. So again, it's roughly 2,000 linear feet of greenway that we would be installing as part of this project. And that's a condition to the rezoning. In addition to that, we've agreed to install a traffic light at the intersection of True Light Church Road and Lawyers Road. And that traffic light would also include a pedestrian crossing with a light and signal there for a pedestrian crossing. And then finally, as a requirement of NCDOT, we will have a turn lane into the entrance to our property. And that turn lane will probably end up being, and it hasn't been finalized yet because we have to coordinate that through NCDOT, but it'll probably be just one single lane extending from the entrance to our property all the way to True Light Church Road. And so it'd be a continuous turn lane there. And those, again, are conditions to the rezoning that we would be responsible for carrying the cost of. These are the just renderings of the proposed homes that we have for the neighborhood. As I said, it's 50 home sites. We're expecting pricing based on what we're paying for the land and the development costs to be in the 600s to 700s for these homes, and roughly 2,800 to 3,800 square feet. This is a rendering looking from the Pocket Park into the 6 homes that would be surrounding that Pocket Park, so it gives you an idea of the attractiveness of that Pocket Park. And then, as I said, that would be an amenity. We would include some benches and some nice landscaping, and it would be an area for the community to gather for events. That's another rendering of home sites. That's a little closer, zoomed in version of some of the homes that are on that Pocket Park and off that circular drive. And then here are some home sites that would be along the main road coming in, which is going to be called Daisy Drive, just to show you examples of the types of homes that we have planned for the neighborhood. As far as timeline, hopefully if we get your approval on the rezoning, that would occur in August, as I understand it. The development, we would have to submit construction drawings, so it would probably take us 5 or 6 months to get the construction drawings approved. So the development would not start until the spring of 2025. And then we would expect to start seeing homes going up sometime shortly thereafter, sometime in the summer of 2025. So that's the timeline. And then that's it. That's our overview of the project. We're certainly happy to take any questions you might have, answer any questions. We did host 2 neighborhood meetings, and we're able to hopefully answer the questions of most of the neighbors that had been there. I know it's not always easy to to answer every question, but we tried our best to do that. And Dale and Tony were present at one of those.
Questions for the applicant, Commissioner Long?
Couple, kudos for doing the neighborhood meetings. That's always positive when you can interact with who's going to be the next door neighbor of your proposed project. And you mentioned approximate market value of these homes, 600 to 700,000 at today's
Pricing, right.
Yeah,
right, Yeah.
okay.
And that could change depending on market. Seems like it continues to go up.
All right, just a couple questions, not that, but just for clarification, what's approximate budget for a traffic light?
It's we've actually priced it out, and the quotes that we've gotten back are anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 to install that traffic light.
Okay. And that benefits us how?
Well, it benefits, the feedback we got on the traffic light was, and this came more from the meeting that we had with the Traditions on Lawyers Road, but the feedback we got was, one, there had been a number of accidents coming through True Light Church Road, and I guess not stopping, going across the road and then creating even hitting in the building at one point. But it's a safety issue, obviously, for the town. The town wants to address that, and that's been something that's been as a focus. The second thing is it's going to slow traffic down. So by having that light there, it will slow traffic down. And it will provide the ability, once the light is red, for people turning left, not only out of our neighborhood, but any of the other neighborhoods along Lawyers Road, would be able to have a break in traffic that would allow them to make an easier left-hand turn, in our opinion.
Okay, and you showed us a visual on the proposed features of the greenway. Is that greenway open to the general public?
Yes. And one thing I failed to mention is that we would, as part of the amenity for the neighborhood, we would have a little walkway coming from the sidewalk to the greenway, if allowed. And it's a public greenway, but if that would be allowed, then we would do that. And, but it would be a public greenway. And so anyone that wanted to would be able to access that,
And you spoke about it's probably 2,000 feet long?
2,000 feet long.
And what's a budget for something like that?
It's not cheap. We've gotten budgets going up as high as $750,000 to install that. And that includes the pedestrian crossing. The biggest expense, interesting enough, is the crossing as a single, because it's a pretty significant span, and we're constructing this to Mecklenburg County standards, which means that we would have to have steel and concrete, and it's a significant structure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Holton?
All right. Who is the home builder?
We have, the home builder we're working with right now, and these homes that you saw in the renderings were homes that they build, is Eastwood Homes. Now, we can't finalize the contract with them until we know where we are, but that's the builder that we're working with at this time.
Okay. In regards to like the retention ponds, there's the one existing back there that borders Lawyers Glen, right?
The existing pond, yes, that pond will stay. That's the pond, if you see it about the middle of the site.
Yep.
That's an existing pond that would be surrounded with, we don't plan to disturb any of that area around there. So that would stay. If possible, we show it on the rezoning plan, John and I talked about it, but we would put a fountain in there if that will support that. We haven't actually had anyone go out there and look at it and design as to the design of that, but we would keep that as a feature of the neighborhood.
And that some of the runoff will feed into that as well as the one that's in the back.
Yes, and one of the questions that came up in the meeting was the runoff between the neighborhood, and so we are picking up, which is a stormwater ordinance, we have to pick up water on the site and take it to the pond in the back, which is a water quality pond. So some of that drainage will be taken away from there, and I think one of the concerns that we heard was that it could create, or it was creating some flooding there, so it should alleviate some of that.
Yeah. And what steps and measures are going to be taken just to protect Irvin's Creek that comes through there?
We will have all of the required stormwater requirements will be met as part of this. That will be handled through the submission of the construction drawings. there'll be double silt fence more than likely required. They're pretty strict about any protected areas like that as far as how we have to construct it and what has to be installed to protect those areas.
Is there-
And we'll have erosion control inspectors that will be on site checking that. We also hire a third-party erosion control inspector that goes out there on our behalf, in addition to what the town or the county would have.
Yeah, and I know that like these lots that are back by the back retention pond, looks like lots 30 through 37, those are not in floodplain now, but is there any future projected, floodplain where that could essentially be put into floodplain?
Not that we think, we will not be able to build on those unless we meet those guidelines and standards. So if there's any requirement imposed, which there are none at this point, as far as elevations, then that would be on the plat and on the plans, and the builder would have to comply with that. And Mecklenburg County Building Code would monitor that. So they would require that the finished floor elevation of the house would be above any floodplain.
Yeah,
or any
and-
flood level. So, but right now, we're not anticipating any of that.
Yeah, and it's just, it's a concern because I'd say the past 24 months, there has been severe flooding, not only through here, but we can't even call them, they're not called 100-year storms anymore, Steve, because we've had too many of them. 1% storm, yeah, we seem to always get these 1% storms now. And I just want to make sure that infrastructure, not over here, but also further down the line, because everything goes right down that way, is safe and secure.
Yeah, they will do calculations of the flow, and all that will have to be met as part of the engineering. And we'll have storm in the streets, so that will pick up some of that flow and channel it so that it doesn't go in the wrong places.
And then what are we doing as far as this rear buffer that borders Mint Hollow there, as far as separation between the two?
In the very back of the site,
Yeah.
that's undisturbed.
So no fencing or anything like
Oh,
that?
you're talking about behind, that borders some of those lots. There will be some fencing along some of those lots. We talked to a few neighbors there, and they had requested that. We haven't gotten with them to talk about exactly what that would look like, but in the back, and I can't remember I can't see.
Basically lots 1 through
28.
28?
And the way we discuss that is we would like to preserve trees that are mature trees to the extent we can. And if for some reason we can't preserve those and also put a fence up, then we just want to talk about that. But we know there's a desire for that. I think the discussion needs to be the type of fencing and making sure that it's consistent with both neighborhoods. But we have not had any detailed conversations yet about that.
Okay. That's all I got.
Mayor Pro Tem Dalton.
Thank you. Piggybacking off of Patrick there, I know that night we were at the Masonic Lodge, there were several residents that did express a lot of interest in the fencing. They did, with the proximity of the two homes where they go out in their backyard and have a cookout and they're not being watched by
Yeah,
the
we're not
neighbors.
opposed to that at all, and I think we said in the meeting that more than likely, the residents buying these homes are gonna want some kind of privacy in their rear yard. So it's just a matter of building something attractive. And I understand privacy fencing is what's desired. I'm not a big fan of the vinyl fencing, but if that's what we have to do to make this work, then we're not opposed to that. I prefer to have not aluminum, black aluminum fencing with landscaping, because I think it's more attractive, but if that doesn't do the job, then I think people like privacy, and we'll have to work with the residents on that.
I'm talking about the greenway on the back end, you're gonna build it to Mecklenburg County standards.
Right.
We talked at that night, reason you're doing that is so Mint Hill the county can take it over at some time, Mint Hill will not be held liable to keeping the upkeep of that.
Right. And we reached out to Mecklenburg County, got their standards, talked to their internal department about that, and so we've provided that to a contractor. And that's the way we're approaching it. And it's on the plans. It states that it would be done to those standards.
And that goes from Apple Creek all the way, you'll be connecting Apple Creek to Brighton Park to Harris Teeter Shopping Center. That will make that connectivity
Well,
between
it
the two?
goes, I don't have it. Well, you can see it on this one right here. It would go from the lot that y'all currently own that's on Apple Creek Drive. It would tie in at Apple Creek Drive, go all along Irvins Creek, and then cross into your property and then tie into the existing greenway behind Brighton Park. Is what-
okay.
And so that greenway goes almost to the center part of our property. But we would cross, and I talked to you, Brian, or certainly John about this. We want to make sure we can avoid, because there's some wetlands down in there. So we're going to have to work with the town as far as exactly where we cross. But that would be our plan, to build a pedestrian crossing and then tie into the existing greenway.
That's all I've got for now.
Commissioner Henderson?
You mentioned a turning lane into the community, and there being a light at True Light. Is there going to be enough distance to prevent, traffic backup? Because I know that's everybody's concern, traffic backing up on
You
Lawyers
mean in the
Road.
turn lane itself?
Yes.
From what we see stacking now, NCDOT has looked at it. Their typical response to us is submit us plans, we're not going to respond to it. But they've looked at it and have not brought that up as an issue. And we have talked to our engineer about it. He's looked at the stacking potential. And so I can't tell you that there wouldn't be times where heavy traffic that it couldn't back up, because I honestly wouldn't be able to say that right now. But I do think there's enough sufficient stacking, and what they did tell us is that it would probably be one continuous lane, so that you wouldn't have it tapering in and then tapering back. And that would allow people to stack even deeper if necessary, if you didn't have people turning left into our neighborhood. And with only 50 homes, we don't see it stacking up too much in our community. And then it's just a matter of maybe at rush hours, you might have an issue, but we honestly feel like there's sufficient stacking because of the distance between the two roads, or will be, if that answers your question.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I
I've
appreciate
got
your
4
time.
people who've signed up to speak to this public hearing. I'm going to call you in the order that they handed me the cards. And if you would come to the podium, give your name, your address, and then you have 3 minutes, and you have the floor once you've done that. And the first person is Josh Darnell. And by the way, if I mess up your name, please forgive me. And you can correct it when you come to the podium.
Hello.
Hi.
Josh Darnell, you got my name right, thank you.
Yes,
7320 Apple Creek Drive.
thank you. You have the floor.
I appreciate you holding the public hearing, and I just wanted to express concern about, mainly about the traffic on Lawyers Road. And in particular, I just haven't heard any data presented or gathered about whether the traffic light would really help with the difficulties that currently exist on top of the addition of the new homes that are going to be there. Living on Apple Creek, I often have to turn left out onto Lawyers Road, and it's very difficult at times. And so I just wanted to, express my concerns about that with the new subdivision. And I didn't know about the proposed greenway until I got here. I guess I didn't hear about the community meetings that were held. But my house is actually directly adjacent or up against Irvins Creek. And so I would be curious to know if there's any way to, if the greenway is built there on the other side of Irvins Creek to preserve the privacy of our house, which is just on the other side, because it would kind of feel like, as that being a public greenway, there would be people just kind of almost walking through our yard when accessing that. So those are the 2 things I wanted to bring up.
Thank you, sir. Kermit McGinnis.
Good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
My name is Kermit McGinnis. I live at 6840 Cinnamon Circle, which is in the Traditions. I am on the board of directors of the Traditions of Lawyers Glen, and I'd like to initially state that the board does not object to the concept of this project. There are some concerns about it, and very briefly, on February 11, a couple of years ago, you remember there was a request for rezoning. I spoke at that hearing and I objected to it for reasons. After that, the owner, Jerry Helms, came to my house and we had a very lengthy conversation concerning my objection, and it ended up very nice. Jerry gave me express permission to do anything I wanted to around the pond that is located in the center of that development. Since then, I've been the maintainer of that pond. Just to make sure I wasn't doing something that would come up to be questioned later on, I sent Jerry an email confirming our conversation. So our concern about the pond is this. When Chris, who just spoke, met with the board of directors of Traditions, I specifically asked him a question. We were concerned about the pond. Specifically asked him a question about how the pond was to be maintained and how it's fed. And Chris told us that the pond was fed by a stream or a spring. That's totally not correct, and I think he understands that now, and I tried to get him to understand it then. That pond is fed by runoff water from 2/3 of this development. My home, if you would look at the map, and I don't know whether you can see this or not, I don't know what you have on your computer, on the bottom left side of, right in the middle of that pond, not the runoff pond that they have, but the pond that's there is my property. So I have maintained that pond. But I've maintained the water level. In the winter, that pond floods, it goes over onto our property. In the summer, it dries up. Right now, it's about 18 to 20 inches short of water. This proposal is going to remove a vast amount of runoff water. In other words, there'll be absolutely nothing. Everything to the left of that pond, if you look at it, will go elsewhere. Everything to the right of it, they have storm drains directing the water to their stormwater pond. So the net effect of all this is that pond is going to have no water. And when that happens, there's going to be an awful lot of fish and an awful lot of dead turtles, and it's going to smell like holy Hades, bad, in other words. I would like for this town to require that they put in some type of water supply. They have put this pond on their drawing as an amenity to the owners, an influence to them, a nice area to walk around, pretty to look at, and it is when it has water. Right now, they have cut off the water supply, probably 95% of the water supply, if you look at their map. That pond is downhill to the northern 2/3 of their property. In other words, every drop of runoff ran into that pond. That is now being diverted, and I've got a drawing of their plan showing that, and I'm sure you've seen it also, where they have storm lines running down, specifically draining to their pond. We would like to recommend that if the board should approve this, that they require some type of water system to feed the pond. They have a fountain on the drawings, I'm sure you noticed. When it's dry, it won't do a bit of good. They have proposed a walkway around the pond, which in the wintertime you cannot do because it's over flooded. You'd be walking over the path. And it's also, if they tried to go around the water, they'd be walking on my property, which I wouldn't necessarily object to. But the fact of the matter is, it's not very practical the way they have right now intentions to maintain this pond. If they buy it, as they desire to do, it's their pond, they can do what they want to. They can drain the pond if they want to. But their plan that they've shown you shows the existing pond. Chris just said they don't intend to alter the pond, but they're altering it tremendously. I suggest and strongly request to you that you require some type a watering system during the summer months. In wintertime, it's floods, no problem. In the wintertime, by the way, pursuant to Jerry's permission, I take care of the dam, I drain the water off. In the summertime, I close it up, trying to keep water in the pond as much as possible. It still is about 18 to 20 inches short of where it should be, and I have markers. Basically, we think it's a good proposal if they do something to take care of that pond so it doesn't turn into a mud hole with a bunch of dead turtles and fish, being an eyesight to everybody and potentially a sore spot to the town. One last comment, and I'll quit. The stoplight they have proposed is a very nice gesture to get you to approve this, but it would do absolutely nothing to help the entrance and exit to the Traditions or to their development, because right in the middle, that stoplight is right at the corner of our property, and their entranceway is down toward, on down Lawyers Road. I say the only, because it has nothing to do with it, I don't necessarily oppose it, but I just point out to you that it's a nice gesture, but it won't serve any purpose in helping the, any questions, if I can ask anything, answer anything, I'd be tickled to death to.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Carol Allen.
Good evening. My name is Carol Allen. I live at 10444 Surrey Court. And I will just point out, as I've searched this, Surrey Court will have 18 lots against it in this proposal on the 8 lots that are on Surrey Court right now. So that's 18 lots of the new development against 8 lots on Surrey Court. My husband and I have lived in Mint Hill for 32 years, the last 28 years on Surrey Court. Our backyard connects to the property that is under consideration for rezoning. We have been grateful that this property has not been developed, but we have always been aware that at any moment it could be, and that homes could be built back there. But we took comfort in the fact that it was zoned residential, which meant it was 20,000 square foot lots. And that would be in keeping with the lots in our neighborhood of Mint Hollow. If the rezoning is approved, rather than 20,000 square foot lots, the lots will be less than half of that. We will have 4 lots against our backyard. One of our neighbors will have 5 lots against their backyard. We have always relied on the zoning that was in place and trusted that it would remain in place. The proposed rezoning will completely change the feeling of our neighborhood and all that are near. The difficulty in developing the land on Lawyers Road is not one that the folks who already live there should have to bear the burden of. That burden is and should be on the landowner and on the developer to reach an agreement that allows development within the current zoning restrictions. I urge you to reject this rezoning request and require that the development of this property meet the current zoning. Do not put the burden on the folks who have lived there for years and relied on the zoning and relied on you folks. We have trusted the town and the officials to keep the current zoning. Please, don't let us down. Thank you.
Thank you. Albert Allen.
Thank you. Excuse me. A little nervous. This is kind of personal to us, as you can imagine. Mayor Simmons, Mayor Pro Tem Dalton, Commissioners Long, Holton, and Henderson, appreciate your consideration of this. My wife and I, and others obviously, oppose the rezoning as proposed. We believe it is inconsistent with the requirements and goals of the Mint Hill Unified Development Ordinance. First, just as a reminder, and I did send you all an email in 2 fashions. I hope you got it. And I apologize. The second email I had to send directly because I didn't know how to send an attachment to the one that went through the Mint Hill website. But the attachment is important because it provides the dimensions of the lots, which Mr. Boone was kind enough to provide to me upon request. I don't believe it's part of the application, but much of the objections come from the size of the lots. So the attachment is critical because it shows the dimensions of each of the lots that are being proposed. The existing ordinance calls for a minimum of 20,000 square feet per lot. The proposal, the average lot is less than 10,000 square feet, and it goes down to a lot that's 7,500 square feet. The existing zoning requires a 125 width at the minimum front setback. Most of those lots along that Daisy Road that they're talking about is approximately 55 feet, less than half of what's required. The residences under the existing zoning can cover no more than 29% of the lot. I think we saw a previous slide that indicated that the homes were 2,800 to 3,800 square feet. You put one of those on one of the smaller lots and you're far beyond the 29%. The front setback under the existing zoning is 50 feet. The rear setback under existing zoning is 40 feet. The proposal calls for setbacks front and back of 20 feet, both front and back, half of what's required. The side setbacks are 15 feet, and this is not in my email, I just noticed this coming up. The side setbacks are, the front and back are not. The side setbacks under the existing zoning are 15 feet, so you have 30 feet between each structure. The proposal calls for side setbacks of only 6 feet. So you're going to have 12 feet between each house. And remember, each house is a two-story house. The renderings indicated high roof lines. That's less than the distance from you to me. For each of those houses along there, it's going to be that distance from side to side. Again, those are two-story houses with high-pitched roofs. So that's the specific objections that we have to this. There is a more of a general objection. The rezoning application, and Mr. Boone stated today that it's no more than 2 houses per acre. Well, technically that is correct because it's 25.19 acres, 50 houses. The problem is that's using the undeveloped and undevelopable land, and then it's also averaging the size of the lots. If you allow that to go forward, then what you're doing is setting a dangerous precedent where almost any developer can come in and say, well, the average meets the requirement. But the average doesn't meet the requirement. If you look at those lots up there, you're looking at 8 to 10,000 square feet with those lots. If an acre is 43,450 square feet, that's about 5 houses, almost 5 houses per acre, not 2. So the density is far beyond what the R designation calls for. We'd ask that you not allow a developer to be permitted to average larger lots with smaller lots to meet that 20,000 requirement, or to allow them to use undevelopable land to meet that requirement. The stated goal of the Mint Hill Unified Development Ordinance is to, quote, and this is, promote and protect the unique rural and country village character of the town. I would argue that 7,500 to 8,000 square foot lots with 2-story houses set 12 feet apart is inconsistent with that rural and country village character. As my wife indicated, we moved to Mint Hill 32 years ago. We've lived in our home for 28 years. We're not asking that it not be developed, but we are asking that you maintain the zoning restrictions that are in place that we relied on, that people who bought there relied on, and that we trust that something can be zoned consistent with that and meet those requirements. And I'm happy to answer any questions either now or later.
Thank
have
you,
my
sir.
email.
Appreciate
Thank you.
that. Thank you very much. At this time, I'll close the public hearing on ZC 24-3. Item number 7, at this time, I'll open the public hearing on ZC 24-4, filed by the town of Mint Hill to amend Section 6.8 of the Post-Construction Ordinance and Section 8.3 Procedural Requirements. We have town staff here. If you would give us your full name and address, please, then you have the floor.
Justin Williams, 1714 Conifer Circle, Charlotte, North Carolina. Justin Williams, staff engineer. Staff is proposing 2 text amendments related to land development and the post-construction ordinance, as well as the unified development ordinance. The first amendment pertains to section 6.8 of the PCO, and this amendment would remove the option for HOAs to petition the town for long-term maintenance of their BMPs, otherwise referred to as stormwater ponds.
The other half of this text amendment is related to traffic studies for proposed developments. Section 8.3 of our UDO sets the threshold right now for a traffic impact analysis, otherwise known as a TIA, at 2,000 trips per day or 200 trips in a peak hour. So we're proposing to lower that to 1,000 trips in a day or 100 trips in a peak hour. We're also proposing the creation of a new report, a traffic technical memo, for a neighborhood that doesn't quite trigger a TIA threshold, but it's still appreciable in size. So that threshold would be 50 trips in a peak hour. To put those numbers in perspective, 50 trips is related to about 46, 47 homes in a residential neighborhood. And 1,000 trips is about 93 homes. So 2,000 trips is about 186. So 93 is more appropriate for what I would call a large size Mint Hill development. So both of these amendments are in line with what other communities in the county have been doing. We've taken note of their processes and what they've gone through and done our own homework on this as well, and present this to you for your consideration. Be happy to answer any questions.
We'll start at the other end. Commissioner Henderson, any questions?
No, not at this time.
Mayor Pro Tem Dalton.
No questions.
Commissioner Holton.
No, sir.
Commissioner Long.
Good job. You know how I feel about having dealt with the planning board for 20 years, and we need this, especially on the traffic end. And what our town manager has shown me recently about the amount of work that required by our town on stormwater management issues after the fact. So thank you. Good job.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. We have one person that signed up to speak to this public hearing. Pete Larson. You'd come to the podium, give us your name and address, please, sir, then you have the floor.
It's Pete Larson, 9763 Fairview Road, Mint Hill. I think this is a great idea, and it definitely needed to be done. I've got a question, it's just a technicality question. It refers to all applicants for major subdivision, conditional zoning applications, and non-residential by right development approvals shall obtain a TIA. I went through the UDO, I went through Mecklenburg County ordinances and so on, I went through Charlotte. Can't find a definition of what a major subdivision is. Talk to the town engineer says 5 or more lots. If you go to Union County, that's the only county that specifies anything that's 8 or more lots. If there is something in the UDO that I missed, and I went through the whole thing, that actually specifies what a major subdivision is, I really think that you ought to have a little reference number there with a footnote at the bottom that where a person could refer to what is a major subdivision. The way it reads right now, if there is no actual definition, an unscrupulous developer could say, hey, mine's minor, it's not major, so I don't fall into this. It's just a technicality.
I think it's a good point. I thank you for bringing it to us. And you know, all my time on the planning board, I don't remember seeing that myself either, but I will research it and answer to you personally, and probably in an email. Or just drive up in your front yard and honk the horn. But I'll get you the answer. Just give me a little time to find it out if you would. And I thank you for your point. At this time, I will close the public hearing on ZC 24-4 filed by the town of Mint Hill. Item number 8 is public comments. We have one person signed up to speak. That would be Paige McKinney. If you would give us your name and address, please, and then you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Paige McKinney. I'm with the Mint Hill Chamber of Commerce, and my address is 7900 Matthews Mint Hill Road. That is not my residence, but that is where I live most of the time when I work. Myself, along with my executive board here behind me, would like to come before you tonight to thank you. Mayor Simmons, Board of Commissioners, Town Manager Brian Welch, and staff. On behalf of the Mint Hill Chamber of Commerce, we extend a heartfelt gratitude for your support over the years. Your dedication and commitment to fostering a vibrant business community in Mint Hill has been instrumental in our growth and our success. We are here tonight to formally thank each of you for your decision to house the chamber offices at the new community center. This milestone represents a significant step forward in strengthening the bond between the chamber and the town's leadership. We believe in the power of partnerships, and in this new location, it will provide an exceptional platform to showcase our thriving business community. The community center is not only going to be just a physical space, it will embody the spirit of collaboration and progress that defines Mint Hill. By situating our offices in this hub, we are confident that it will enhance our ability to serve members, engage with our community, and drive economic development. This move will enable us to host events, meetings, networking opportunities in the new space, and further solidify Mint Hill as a wonderful destination for businesses. Your support has been pivotal in making this vision a reality. The Chamber is excited about the possibilities that lie ahead, and we're committed to working closely to ensure that this partnership continues to flourish. Together, we can create an environment where businesses can thrive and the community can prosper. Again, thank you for your support and for believing in our mission. And at this time, the Chamber would like to formally announce that we are coming off the town's external grant list. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gary, did you want to say anything? I knew that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Item number 9, discussion and decision on ZC 24-2, filed by Andrea Wilson for a text amendment to section 5.2, table of permitted uses, to allow daycare/day health center adult in the BD district. John?
The planning board met last month, and they have a favorable recommendation. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for John or the applicant? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve ZC 24-2.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Can I just say, I think it's great what y'all are doing over there and what you're going to do over there. And if you could just keep us in the loop on the progress and when this facility will be up and running, I would appreciate that.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all,
Thank
everybody,
you.
the mayor, everything in the town. So we will be in touch, and we will be sending a community email to invite actually the community to do a community thing for Mint Hill. As you know, the owners, they live in Mint Hill. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Chief Leith, you have the floor, sir.
Mayor and Commissioners, the Mint Hill Fire Service was established in 1952 and is 72 years old. But on July 4th of 1974, 50 years ago, a young boy of 16 came to the fire department selling watermelons out of the back of a dump truck. He was raising money for the Masonic Lodge. While at the fire department, one of the founding members, Ranson Lee, asked the young boy if he'd like to join the fire department and be a part of the newly formed junior firefighter program. His answer was yes, and here we are 50 years later. 50 years later, celebrating the accomplishments of Deputy Chief John Phillips. If you'll make your way up here. Chief Phillips has served in all positions in the volunteer fire department, from firefighter to chief. For the past 17 years, he has been employed by the town and currently serves as the deputy chief of the fire department. One of the unique aspects of Chief Phillips' 50 years is that he has not just been a name on a roster, but he's still very active. And for 50 years, he has qualified physically, mentally a little questionable, to be an interior structural firefighter for us. So tonight it is my honor and pleasure of presenting Chief Phillips with a plaque and a very large thank you for what he has done and will continue to do for the fire department and this community. Plaque reads, John R. Phillips for 50 years of faithful, loyal, dedicated service to the Mint Hill community, 2024 Town of Mint Hill.
Let us see it.
Before you get to talk, I always get to talk first. Whereas John Phillips has served the Mint Hill community in the fire and ambulance service since 1974. Whereas John Phillips devoted 50 years to caring for and helping the individuals in Mint Hill and surrounding areas on the worst days of their lives. And whereas John Phillips has served as an employee of the town of Mint Hill since July of 2007 in various roles and capacities. And whereas John Phillips has served as firefighter, paramedic, captain, rescue captain, deputy fire chief, and fire chief for Mint Hill. And whereas John Phillips is currently the deputy fire chief of the Mint Hill Fire Department. And whereas John Phillips's legacy of excellence has been apparent in our community and in his church where he serves as chairman of the deacons. And now, therefore, I, Brad Simmons, mayor of the town of Mint Hill, do hereby proclaim July the 12th, 2024 as John Phillips Day in the town of Mint Hill, and citizens are encouraged to follow the lead of John Phillips in making Mint Hill, North Carolina, an excellent place to live, work, and play. Thank you, sir.
Anything you'd like to say? We still got that meeting, John.
You're another one. So first of all, obviously, thank y'all. Thank you so much. The words are way more than what I deserve, I promise you, but thank my family. We got quite a crew. Glad my mom's here tonight, and thankful to the guys that are here behind me that work with me at the fire station. And I gotta tell you, I'm okay with speaking as long as I have an opportunity to prepare, and I did not tonight. I think I started to smell a rat on this deal just before I came. my wife was gonna pick up supper. I told her I'd do it. She said, no, I got it. I said, well, I'm right across from Chick-fil-A. I'll get it on the way home. Nope, I got it. I'm like, something's wrong with that. She never does something like that. And Manager Welch, I was a little dubious of your called 10 minutes before the meeting. But I'm like, okay, well, we have a lot of projects going on right now with the building of the new fire station and the new complex, our training tower that we're going to be so proud to be in. And thank you, Jerry Mullis, and
Absolutely.
and absolutely the group that formerly was our volunteer fire department that persevere to still serve this community with their funding for the current fire department. We appreciate them more than they'll ever know. And I appreciate them because I served with them for 33 years before becoming a employee of the town, doing the same thing. So all I can say is I'm thankful. I'm thankful to have the opportunity to do what we do. The guys that work with me are probably about the best in the world. They are for me anyway. I enjoy doing what we do with them. We're a growing fire department. We're an expanding fire department, trying to keep up with the growth that we've talked about and heard about even in this room tonight. And it is our responsibility when new citizens come to us and new homes are built in our area for us to be on top of or even in front of, trying to make sure that everyone's safe and their property is protected and taken care of. So we take that job very, very serious. And only thing I can do to you right now, all of you, is commit to continue to do this. As long as the good Lord provides health, strength, and a fit mind, I'll keep digging. 50 years is a long time, and boy, it goes by quick. So if you haven't done anything for 50 years yet in your life, enjoy the ride because it comes up quick. And again, I thank everyone in the room, everyone that made a special effort to come out. You got me. I don't know what else to say. You got me. So, Mayor, thank you. Commissioners, thank you. Manager, thank you. Chief Lee, thank you so much. Appreciate all of you very much.
Thank you. Just grab that proclamation, give him a copy of it. We had this planned for a little while, maybe. There's a copy of the proclamation in there for you. All right, other business and council matters. Commissioner Long.
Yes, sir. On June the 20th, Mint Hill hosted Mecklenburg County's economic development staff, and we had quite an event there. Had about 110 people in attendance, primarily small business people who were able to do roundtable discussions and express their concerns with running a small business in our community. Whereas compare it with Matthews, they had 50 people show up. So once again, you talk about communities and how they compare. Well, we doubled what Matthews had come out. And then following up, this week I met with District 6 Representative Susan Rodriguez McDowell here to discuss that meeting at Old Sycamore and how we could benefit more working with the county. Thank you.
Commissioner Holton.
I got to say, tonight has probably been one of the best meetings I've been a part of. To see the residents come out and be involved in what's going on in this community, to see everybody come out to honor Chief Phillips, definitely moving for me, and that's what I love about this town. So, with everybody that likes to come out, we've got another opportunity for you on Family Fun Night, Saturday, July 20th. Family Fun Night starts at 6:30 p.m. at Veterans Park. There'll be food trucks, games, inflatables, and a free concert featuring Captain Mike and the Shipwrecked. It's 100 degrees outside, so town staff has started planning for Christmas, as so they should. So Mint Hill Christmas Parade application is now live at minthillevents.org. They're less than 150 days away, so stay tuned for information about the Christmas market, which will be added to the holiday mingle and jingle. And we hope to see everybody out joining and getting involved with everything we got going on here at Mint Hill. Thank you.
Once again, you get to follow Mr. Radio Voice.
Not even going to try. As far as the Historical Society, we're still having the farmers market each Saturday morning from 8 to 12. If you'd like to come out there and participate in that. This past CARPO meeting was June 26th. A lot of discussion was talked about between managed lanes and express lanes. A big project is being considered, and it probably won't be built in any of our lifetimes, widening I-77 from where it goes into the toll lanes now towards Davidson, picking it up from there and taking it to the South Carolina line. People think, well, that's over there, it's not going to really affect us, but in a roundabout way, yes, it will, between how it'll spill over on the 485 coming around. So if you have any interest in that, you can get in touch with CARPO. That's the Charlotte, what is it called? Charlotte Regional Transportation
Planning Organization.
And, or you can come to the meeting. The next meeting will be July 21st at 6 o'clock at the Government Center. That's all.
Commissioner Henderson.
Just a couple of things on behalf of the Chamber. The Young Professionals of Mint Hill will meet on July the 17th at 6:30. It's going to begin with a meet and greet at Chick-fil-A, followed by networking at Vintners Hill afterwards. Also, the Women's Networking Breakfast will be on July 18th at 8:30 at Novant Health Mint Hill. And just piggybacking on Commissioner Long with the Economic Development Breakfast that was co-sponsored with the Chamber. But it was a phenomenal event with a lot of businesses, so it was really good to see a lot of the local businesses there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to piggyback with Commissioner Holton as far as this being one of the best meetings. I've heard a lot of passion, and I heard a lot of people that are passionate about this town, and it still excites me when I hear that out of our community, when you don't get that much in a lot of other places. You know, I joke with people all the time about the other towns, and I'm really not joking. This is a lot better than the other towns. I always like to recognize youth when they show up for our meetings, because I think it's great that our younger citizens show up for our meeting. And I think I see Jacob. No, he's behind you, though. You're close. I think I see Jacob back there. And wasn't yesterday a national holiday or something, Jacob? Remind me again what yesterday was. Your 12th birthday. Everybody join me. Let's sing happy birthday to Jacob. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jacob. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. And your mom didn't have anything to do with that, so you can't be mad at her, all right? Yeah, no problem. All right, at this point in time, we're going to go into closed session so that you that aren't here at all our regular meetings, we go into closed session only for certain items. We go into closed session for personnel matters that we can't discuss in the public forum. We go in to discuss legal matters, of course, because we're going in to speak with our attorney. And we do sometimes go into them for real estate matters, not for real estate like the rezoning issues. All of that will be handled in public. But if we're purchasing real estate, for instance, and we just purchased the old Bain School building to build a community center. So that's some of the things that we discuss in there. I got one late email from your neighborhood so that I can help you understand the process. We didn't vote on anything tonight. Nothing was official tonight. You saw us vote on one of the other items. What happens is it goes to the planning board next. The planning board meets Monday. All right? They'll meet Monday. They'll go over the same things that we saw tonight. The applicant will make the same presentation. Then they make a recommendation to us, and then it comes back before us at our next scheduled board meeting in August. So if anybody asked, somebody was worried tonight, he didn't get to the meetings and he couldn't be here tonight and he's afraid we're going to vote tonight and not let it happen. So if you talk to your neighbors, you can let them know that. So at this point in time, I will entertain a motion to go to closed session.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. We will not be returning to this room because there's no decision to be announced. So you will adjourn from closed session. Thank you very much.
Same spot, Brad?
Yes, sir.